Hey, I'm Rachel Abbott, and welcome back to the Standards Tech and Science Daily. Coming up,
we've seen individuals like Jeff Bezos, like Mark Zuckerberg, go and visit Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. I think it does raise some interesting questions about this relationship between kind of Donald Trump and the big tech.
University College London's Dr. Thomas Gift, Associate Professor of Political Science and Director of the Centre on US Politics. But first, TikTok went dark at the weekend with a pop-up alert message appearing on screen. However, the ban appeared to only last a short while, with users regaining access and a fresh pop-up alert reading, "Welcome back. Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US." To give us a roundup of the latest, we're joined by the London Standards Science and Technology editor, Will Hosie. Will, can you run us through the weekend? TikTok went dark, and then it came back?
TikTok is resuming its services after shutting down for basically 24 hours to all American users, which is roughly 170 million people. And this is because Donald Trump, whose inauguration is happening today, said that he would issue an executive order to give the app what's being referred to as a reprieve. Trump always said that he wanted to find a commercial solution to the problem, i.e. help to broker a deal between TikTok and an American buyer, whether that's, Elon Musk, as some people have been predicting, or some kind of coalition of proprietors, which seems more likely, rather than shutting down the app altogether. In the temporary shutdown, there was uproar among several circles, first and foremost, the TikTok community. So we're talking content creators having full-on meltdowns in the run-up to the app's suspension on US browsers, crying, waxing lyrical about their quote-unquote online families. But it's also caused furor among the tech oligarchy, as Joe Biden would love to call it, and free speech absolutists who sort of view the Supreme Court's decision to ban the app as the last move from the Biden administration before Trump takes office, a move that in a way typifies everything they hate about Biden's time in power, government encroachment, a culture of thought policing, etc.
And what do you think this shows in terms of Trump's relationship with TikTok?
It's fascinating. I am amazed at quite how far the two seem to be in cahoots. There was a pop-up message that read, quote unquote, "A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now." Sorry, I'm laughing a little bit. "We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned!" Exclamation mark. Now, when the app opens, it says this instead. "Welcome back!" Exclamation mark. "Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US!" Exclamation mark. "You can continue to create, share, and discover all the things you love on TikTok." I mean, it might as well have been scripted by someone on Trump's team. And I think it's sort of symptomatic of two things. The first thing is Trump's sort of God complex, which we already knew he had. But it's also symptomatic of something more distinctive about his second administration, which officially begins today, which is this rapprochement we've been seeing between big tech and Washington, who are currently closer than they have ever been. It's not just that Elon Musk, who owns X, has literally been given a position within the administration, but it extends far more widely. I mean, look at Meta, who basically in the past 3 weeks have appointed Dana White to the board. This guy is the CEO of the Ultimate Fighting Championship and a controversial Republican ally. They've appointed Joel Kaplan as president of global affairs, replacing Nick Clegg. For context, Kaplan is one of the company's most prominent Republican voices and a former deputy chief of staff to George W. Bush. He's had past dealings with Donald Trump within his role as policy chief at Meta during Trump's first term in office. I mean, we've never seen anything like this before. And this is exactly what Joe Biden was cautioning against in slightly veiled terms in his kind of final speech last week as president.
Do you know where the Supreme Court stand in any of this?
I mean, in a normal administration with, a law-abiding president, which Trump famously isn't, we wouldn't have this kind of confusion. The Supreme Court's ruling would pretty much be final. Trump famously thinks of himself as a strong man who has the power to overrule the Supreme Court. Technically, legally, he can't, but he does fancy himself above the rule of law. More importantly, he is someone to whom many judges in the Supreme Court are either allied with, or literally, in the case of someone like Brett Kavanaugh, they are indebted to him. Brett Kavanaugh was appointed by Trump to the Supreme Court during the latter's first term in office. The likelihood, therefore, that the Supreme Court will raise the right flag in the face of an executive order from the president is very high. This is also someone who has vowed to persecute his political enemies, so you don't want to get on his bad side. Even someone like the incoming US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who has vocally supported the TikTok ban, confirmed that if it came to it, he would effectively forego his own beliefs and principles and fall in line under President Trump. The other thing to know about the executive order is that it would also likely allow third parties like Google or Apple to continue supporting TikTok. The app had been removed from the App Store and from supporting browsers in anticipation of the ban last week. In a post on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump has promised to shield companies from liability, which opens the door to TikTok becoming available on Apple and Google once again.
And it's Inauguration Day, with Donald Trump returning, making his second term and last time at the White House. Tech and Science Daily spoke to UCL's Dr. Thomas Gift, Associate Professor of Political Science and Director of the Center on US Politics. Dr. Gift, would you be able to explain the significance of Trump's relationship with Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and obviously this conversation around the TikTok CEO attending his inauguration?
Well, Democrats have been saying for a while that there's a co-president in Elon Musk, and I think there's certainly something to that. Of course, Elon Musk played a very pivotal role during the campaign. He spent $75 million of his own funds to get Donald Trump elected, and at least from his perspective, it was money well spent. Certainly, if you look at the cabinet composition with this incoming administration, it has more billionaires than any administration before. We have seen individuals like Jeff Bezos, like Mark Zuckerberg, go and visit Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. And I think it does raise some interesting questions about this relationship between kind of Donald Trump and the big tech. Joe Biden, in a farewell address a few days ago, said that America is increasingly being ruled by oligarchs, by which he meant that kind of wealthy individuals are exercising undue influence over American politics. And I think there's certainly reason to be worried about that. There's reason to be worried about conflicts of interest. With Elon Musk in particular, he's also heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, which, although not an official government department, will have an important advisory role looking at ways to cut spending. So certainly Donald Trump has surrounded himself by individuals in big tech.
And we saw Mark Zuckerberg adjusting some of Meta's safeguarding, such as fact-checking. This seems like a move in support of Trump's presidency.
Well, we have. We saw Elon Musk come out very strongly in terms of free speech when it comes to how he has run X, and it looks like Mark Zuckerberg is kind of following his lead. They're getting rid of fact-checking. They're moving some of their personnel out of California. And they basically said that they were into too much censoring, especially during the Biden administration. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg went on the Joe Rogan podcast and essentially said that members from the administration were pressuring Facebook to take down certain posts, to censor certain posts, and that he really wants to make a pivot out of that now.
To hear the full interview in line with Trump's inauguration, search for the Standard podcast from 5 p.m. And that's Tech and Science Daily. This podcast will return on Wednesday. For all the latest news, head to standard.co.uk.